This is Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag. Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag is Baton Rouge's longest running and best television show. Who would have believed that?
My best friend, Lee Feinswag, look at the Christmas.
Sports 225 is brought to you by Breck. Remember, it all starts at Breck. Now, your host, Lee Feinswag.
Well, I thought I was pretty smart when I got a hold of Ron Higgins the other day and said, hey, you got to come on the show this week because of the debacle that was LSU football last Saturday. But little did I think at the time that A, there'd be a coaching change, and B, that it would be a coaching change having a guy run the program whom Ron covered back in the day when he was at Ole Miss. And of course, just simply put, Ron Higgins is the best guest you could possibly have anyway. How's that?
It's just kind of freaky how all this stuff rolls back around in my life. I don't know how it happens. I don't know how it happens. It just kind of, rolls back like Lane Kiffin is a coaching candidate. Really? Oh, come on. He's coming back. But I like this version of Ed Orgeron a lot better than the version 10 years ago when he had no clue how to be a head coach. He was probably one of the worst head coaches I've ever seen in the SEC. He won 3 SEC games in 3 years. And even he admits now that, he didn't know what he was doing. He gave a great interview.
Always.
He gave a great interview when he went to Ole Miss, went in there and knocked him dead. I think he went in there with prepared notebooks and plans and stuff. They hired him. It was like, I'm hired. And honestly, he had Pete Carroll on his phone all the time, and they're like, Pete, why do this to me? Didn't know what he was doing. Then fast forward to when he was with Lane Kiffin at USC, and Kiffin gets fired, and Ed has him the last 8 games, and you can see he matured. He was still Ed enthusiastic, but he understood you can't coach a team like you coach a defensive line. You can't beat their chest or beat his chest or scream or whatever. You have to be more of a CEO, and he became that. So that's why I'm fascinated to see how this plays out this year, because it is a different Ed Orgeron. He is definitely with his people in South Louisiana. There's nobody in South Louisiana that doesn't want to see Ed Orgeron succeed, because I think he's related to all of them.
Well, Ron does the best imitation of him. And when Ed Orgeron opens his mouth, you're taken aback by what you hear come out of it, because his voice is so deep and so gravelly and so thick of a Cajun accent. And your joke was that you can understand him now.
I can understand him now. This is how loud he is. Last year at the season opener at Mississippi State, cowbells. Offense has trouble hearing. LSU offense has trouble hearing stuff. Defensive line had no problem hearing Ed Orgeron from the sideline. They could hear him clear as a bell over all those bells. That's how, if you drive to the LSU practice field any day, and you get out your car across the railroad tracks, you can hear Ed Orgeron from the practice field. You got to get out there now. You got to get out there. You can hear him. He's that loud. And you know what? They can use that right now. They can use some enthusiasm. They can use somebody to get them fired up. As long as he's a CEO, and I think he made the good staff moves. What he did, made Aranda. Back in the spring, he and Ed stopped me.
Well, your paper earlier this week reported after the news conference, I think it was Jim Klein-Peter's story, that LSU in fact did not fire Cam Cameron. That once it promoted Ed Orgeron to replace Les Miles, that he med the choice to fire Cam Cameron as the offensive
Andrew
coordinator.
Lopez's story, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but when we got it, so
yeah.
But Ed made Aranda associate head coach, and then he moved Steve Ensminger.
Steve Ensminger's got a great resume. Everybody there has a great football resume.
He's been offensive coordinator 4 times in different schools. Somewhere up in heaven, Coach Mack is smiling, seeing. Now, Ensminger, you run the ball more. Steve Enslinger. Coach Mack used to confuse everybody. Thad Minaldi was Tad Minaldi. But Ensminger has a resume.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that he played basketball against me in high school, You know, he has a resume. I think he was at Texas A&M as an offensive coordinator. A couple of Louisiana schools, and there was somewhere else major he was at. That's a good move. And so, I mean, and also Steve Cragthorpe, who was a head coach at Tulsa, he's still on the staff. They had to emphasize, you know what, you know, we're all going to get on the same page offensively. I mean, some things I like to do, some things Steve has done, some things Cragthorpe has done, and kind of collectively. But I think you're going to see him throw the ball more. I do think that. You will see them throw the ball more.
And in LSU's case, I'm a firm believer, and I think it was either Woody Hayes or Bo Schembechler said, when you throw the ball, 3 things can happen, and 2 of them are bad. All right, he's Ron Higgins. You can read his stuff at NOLA.com. I will leave you with this to ponder as we go to the next segment, and I want to bring up something there that I think we'll disagree with when we get back. But what I want you to ponder, ponder face. I want you to ponder that the season is 1/3 over, and LSU has yet to score in the 4th quarter. It's Sports 225. I'm Lee Feinswagen. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Joe Martin, president of ITI Technical College, and I really encourage you to come out to our 12-acre campus here on Airline Highway in Baton Rouge.
Contact ITI to enroll in our Construction Management Associate and Occupational Studies degree program. Learn to plan, coordinate, budget, and supervise construction projects and collaborate with engineers and architects in the residential, commercial, industrial, and heavy civil construction industry sectors. Call now about this new, exciting career degree. ITI Technical College. Begin your journey to a better life.
All right, we're back on Sports 225. I'm hanging out with Ron Higgins of NOLA.com, who has covered SEC football since they started lacing up pigskins. And all right, I believe this about college sports. Unless a coach is guilty of some type of moral turpitude, major NCAA violations, legal crimes, or has a bunch of little criminals running around, which a lot of programs do, a coach should not be fired in the middle of a season. I think a coach should get to finish his season, no matter what. That's just me personally.
Okay.
Now, I recognize that there was a need to make a change at LSU, and this idea that they're getting a jump start on everybody else is baloney, because the feelers all go out to the agents and they're seconds anyway, and it's all out there, and nothing's going to happen until the seasons are over and everybody, you know, decides what they want to do, blah, blah, blah. That's what I think. My guess is you disagree with me.
Okay, Lee, say that you're a columnist in a paper and your boss tells you, I want you to write this way. You're going to write this way. You need to make changes and write this way. And you don't really change. You don't make the change. Boss says, I told him what to do to make the change. I'm firing him. Simple. It's basic business. You fire. Joe Leva told him to change his offense. He didn't do it. And you fire him. I almost think Les wanted to be fired. I really do. Give me my $10 million or whatever, please, because I think he was a dead man walking at the end of last year. I think I almost thought that they would fire him in the bowl game if he lost that bowl game. He was a dead man walking, and I think he knew that. No matter what, he either could get paid if he won or paid if he lost. So it's like, I'm going to do it my way. The problem is, you come out and go 2-2 doing it your way, and all your big money boosters are hacked. And this is not, this is not exclusive to LSU where big boosters run the show. This is
I remember
everywhere.
Yeah, like Paul Dietzel telling me his first year, his line was, hearing from the people on 3rd Street.
Yeah.
I guess way back when in Baton Rouge,
exactly.
That was, whatever. And that was well over 50 years ago.
Yeah, and so they've always been around. And so they donate the most money. So if they're finally fed up with what they see, and the fan base is fed up. I mean, when there's no more or less allies, and he lost all those after the first game this year. When there's no more or less allies, and you can see it all turn in the wrong direction, and you don't feel there's hope to get it back, you can make the change.
And what's funny is that from a devil's advocate sense, and I'm just, and I know if the Queen or whatever, but LSU is this close to getting a field goal and winning the first game against Wisconsin, as bad as it was, okay? And then the other day, that's a cruel twist of fate. The kid makes that unbelievable play, pass and catch, and LSU wins, and oops, then loses. Yeah. And the fine line between being 4-0, a terrible 4-0, no doubt. Again, because I mentioned they haven't scored in the fourth quarter this year, which is just incomprehensible for a major college football team.
Another reason.
But, you know, the line that's there sometimes between, you know, and I think back, there were a couple of seasons when Jerry DiNardo was here for 5 years. His first 2 years they had big seasons, and then things went south. But that third year, where they were once ranked about as high as fourth or fifth in the country, the fine line there between winning and losing and what could have been. You know, it's
but the problem is there should have been a fine line with this team.
Well, that's true.
I mean, that's.
I'm just throwing out the devil's advocate side of it. Yeah.
That's the problem. It should have been a fine line. They were ranked number 5 in the preseason, probably a little bit too low. I would probably say 7 or 8, but more starters back than anybody in the SEC than Tennessee, one of the most experienced teams in the country, and you come out and you look worse than you did at the end of last year.
But with all of this that's happening, okay, with the coaching change, with the change in quarterback, and the young man seems to be, you know, have a potential or a better ceiling perhaps. But we're not talking about, as I've said before, the second coming of Brett Favre.
No.
So Ed Orgeron and the changes in staff doesn't bring a healthy Leonard Fournette or a new quarterback to the situation.
No.
Now, LSU's better than Missouri. So, you know, by all indications, it should be a nice, happy Saturday.
It should be, but Missouri is a lot better than people think. I mean, they got a quarterback, Drew Lock, now, and Josh Heupel's their offensive coordinator now, and they're starting to put the offense together.
This is Missouri's first trip to
first trip ever. This is the second game ever.
Yeah.
Last game was in.
Is it worth noting that Missouri is the school from which we got Glenn Gilbo?
Unfortunately.
Oh.
No, only kidding, Glenn.
Only kidding.
But last time they played was in the '78 Liberty Bowl. Was Charlie Alexander's last game.
Really?
Missouri's had a tight end named Kellen Winslow.
Not bad.
Quarterback named Phil Bradley, and they beat LSU. I think it was 2015. The typical cold Memphis day. I was even before I went to work there, so I had a good idea what I was getting into when I went to work there. It was cold. I wasn't for the Liberty Bowl, but that was the last time they played Missouri, and now you got them now, this week. I mean, they know they can't change anything drastic in 1 week, and I don't think they can change anything drastic all year, but you try to figure out some other things you can do, as they said, to get the ball in people's hands and get it to them downfield. Leonard Fournette's not going to be healthy all year. Just, you can give it that hope. It's not going to happen. He probably has the most severe high ankle sprain you can have, the highest grade you can have. And I thought he ran like 16 times last week, and Geis ran 3 times. And of course, I mean, Auburn had almost, even with LSU's last drive, Auburn had almost 20 more plays. Or LSU, why? Because the LSU slow-paced offense.
Very.
You know, and their best offense of the night was when they went no huddle last drive. They got they caught a rhythm. I'm thinking, well, you know, don't they see this? They might want to try this in the middle of the game, maybe.
You ever wonder, you know, maybe if a coach would just come sit up in the press box with the media and they all talked about it as the game was going on, or maybe brought media guys in to review film with them and say, hey, we're seeing this, why aren't you? All right, so we got to go to break, but the only time I ever covered a game in the Liberty Bowl, and Ron worked in Memphis for about 25 years, give or take.
Yeah,
all total, maybe a little less.
30.
Oh, yeah.
Almost about 30.
Well, he was at the Advocate. I replaced him at the Advocate. He went to Memphis, and he went to
Mobile for a year and a half.
Right, then back to Memphis.
Back to Memphis, replaced myself.
Anyway, Southern played Tennessee State there in around 1987. And what I remember from that game was having to keep Joe Macaluso, who was covering Southern for the State Times, I was covering for the Advocate, from getting in a fight with somebody. You know, it's like, Joe, it's not worth it. Just leave the guy alone. You know, I can't remember what the situation was. And on that, you expect nothing less. He's Ron Higgins. I'm Lee Feinswag at Sports 225, and we will be right back. Oh, hi. I was checking out Yelphi. I do it all the time, all day, because it brings me all the news I need to know in sports. I mean, I've got a customized news feed, real-time scores. It's integrated with Facebook and Twitter. You download it on iTunes, Yelphi, Y-E-L-L-F-Y. It's a great app and a fantastic Twitter feed. So here's one for you. So when we finished doing the show, I'm bringing my Trooper, and you know Mr. Trooper, my 1991 Isuzu Trooper that I bought originally and it has passed inspection 26 years in a row, give or take. And I'm taking it to my buddy Bobby Lewis at AAA Body and Paint to fix the little piece of the bumper that's been off for like the last 5 years and a couple of rust spots and do this and that. And I took some pictures and stuff. We'll have a before and after. Isn't that amazing?
26 years in a row.
Yeah, and it's got crank windows and everything. But I mean, the interior, I got to do something with it because it's taken in some water. It's had this, it's had that, whatever. But we're going to get it right. Mr. Trooper. Bobby took in 3-4 feet of water in the body shop, and he's up and running, doing good.
Well, 26. I don't know if I've ever had anything 26 years besides children. And my wife.
Yeah, you.
And my wife and the children.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, my kids are older than that. If you put all my marriages together, but that's another story for another day. Ron Higgins is here. He covers LSU and the SEC for NOLA.com and the artist formerly known as the Times-Picayune, which comes out once in a while. But I haven't actually laid my hands on one in a while.
They come out. Comes out every day.
Every day.
Prints every day.
Every day. Anyway, but does it print? Can you buy it hard copy in Baton Rouge?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever.
It's in a lot of Albertson stores.
Oh, there you go.
Some Walgreens. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll get one just so I have your picture. Like
oh, yeah.
kind of thing. He and I are mostly talking LSU football because if you just climbed out from under a sports rock, LSU fired its football coach, Les Miles.
They fired Les? He's such a good guy.
How about the news conference to introduce Ed Orgeron and have the weekly news luncheon? It was like a love fest for Les. Joe Oliva gets up there and does nothing but praise Les. Ed Orgeron gets up there and nothing but praises Les. Social media is nothing but praising Les, but don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Kind of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is what I wanted to ask you, what your impressions were of, it looked like a contentious exchange between Les Miles and Leonard Fournette towards the end of that football game. You might not have seen that because you were there, but maybe you saw the replay or you know of it.
I didn't see it because I was too busy.
But had you heard anything about losing breeds disharmony and when people say, oh, this team's got great chemistry, that's because they win. Winning breeds great chemistry and then vice versa. But had you heard rumblings of things?
I mean, I know that. There were some things that happened in that game. I know Denny Etling was really aggravated, having to call a timeout because they couldn't get a play in. A timeout which they could have used.
So I remember.
And a lot of times, and again in that last minute, wasted a lot of time. A couple of times. The biggest one was right before they threw that pass that was nullified by penalty, and set in the last play. And they completed a pass. I think it was to Dupree. And the play started with 25 seconds. He hit the ground at 20. LSU didn't snap the ball until there was 5 seconds left. And that's the kind of stuff that, well, it gets you fired.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's, and you can tell after the game, some Arden Key comments was like, he said, we got to do better on offense.
And that's the best defensive player telling you
that.
And
then
that kid's really good right now, too.
Yeah, and then he stopped and thought, and we need to get better defensively, too. He's a great player.
I want to save who we think might be coach for the last segment. We've only got a little bit of time left for this one. What do you think is going to happen to the LSU football team in the short term with 8 regular season games to go?
I think they'll play. I mean, they've been playing hard. I don't know. Ed never loses any energy. I mean, he'll be up every game. I think one thing that Ed Orgeron will bring is that he'll get the stadium into a game. As far as like LSU fans, one of the reasons they like Nick Saban is Nick held his players accountable right on the spot. The guy got beat on a coverage, Nick. And LSU fans are like, because they stand up there and they go, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And Nick was like their spokesman.
Yeah.
Les, he had a different style.
Yeah. Okay. And then talked about it with him privately in practice.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
And they had different styles, but the fans, they like that, get after him style. So in that sense, I can't see him beating Alabama. I think they're going to lose to Florida. I think A&M's going to get them this year because A&M has never beaten them, and A&M has a legit quarterback now who can play, and they're pretty good.
You're already talking about a 7-5 season right there.
Yeah, And then you look at Ole Miss, which is,
the first half Ole Miss is really good.
Yeah, really. If Ole Miss, they'll play a half.
Yeah.
It'd be all over.
Yeah.
So you're looking, unless something drastically kicks in gear, Or I think Ed's main charge is to not let this team, especially the guys who will declare for the draft, and be a lot of them,
Yeah.
get to a point in the season where they're so disgusted that they kind of mail it in a little bit.
Yeah, you don't want to create a culture of anything but striving for the best, which is what we do here because I have Ron Higgins. You can read his stuff at NOLA.com. You can follow this show at sports225.com. And if you're interested in volleyball at all, go to volleyballmag.com, our website, where you can read some amazingly good stories. How about that for a plug that's got nothing to do with local sports?
But it was very professional how you slid that in.
It is.
Yeah.
It's good. All right, when we get back, we'll talk about who we think might be the next coach at LSU. It's Sports 225.
It was nearly a decade ago that Brett teamed up to Imagine Your Parks, and you imagine big. 12 beautiful community parks from one end of the parish to the other, one family-sized water park, and 5 other parks just for your dogs. You have places to splash and places to explore. You have games to play and camps galore. No matter what you like to do or see, visit Breck.org and see how together we have made Breck better than imagined.
Coming down the home stretch of another Sports 225, and I always say these things at the start of this segment because I always forget at the end. John Williams from JCW Productions directing the show today, jcwproductions.com for all your digital, everything need, go there. Ron Higgins, you can read his stuff at NOLA.com. This show appears on Cox 4, CST, and on the Sports 225 YouTube channel, which you can hook up with at sports225.com. Go there every day and click on stuff. I would not be surprised to see a coach trade. So one of the really good coaches is going to open up, take this job eventually for LSU, and that team might hire Les Miles.
They might. They might do that. Les is going to hire somebody, okay?
Sure.
I mean, this is one of those things where he's a good coach, but he wasn't a good coach for here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially a divorce. You know, after a while, it's just not working for you, so you divorce. And, you know, you hand him a nice settlement and he moves on, and he'll resurrect somewhere else because he's a decent person, and he gets along with people. And
you know what he's done though, more than anything, more than the flavor of the month coach who could end up here. He has proven that he could take over a good program and sustain it, which he did for over a decade.
Yeah.
And most coaches don't ever even get that chance. And what happens with a lot of guys who get hired, they've never been there long enough. Unless a guy's there 6 or 7 years, you don't know if he can build or inherit and then sustain a program. Coach who does really well for like 3 years, a lot of times is a really good coach, but sometimes you're looking at fool's gold.
Yeah. So he'll end up somewhere. He'll be fine. But now it's just got to move on and figure out who the next guy is.
I got a minute left. Who you think the next guy is?
They're going to go out hard after Tom Herman. And then
From Houston, who's one of those guys, third-year head coach.
Yeah.
But with a great resume.
And beat another guy who's probably also LSU's second choice, Jimbo Fisher, and so and done it to Houston. So I think those are the top 2 guys.
You have a personal preference, somebody who you'd like to see get the job?
Sure, Hugh Freeze. I think Hugh Freeze would be great here. He'd kill here.
So you'd have just an Ole Miss head coach parade.
I'm sure that the LSU fans couldn't accept that until they saw him put up big offensive numbers, and they go, "Okay, we like him."
All right. You're awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Glad to be here.
He's Ron Higgins. You can read his stuff at NOLA.com. He's as good a sports writer as there is in the business anywhere. I'm Lee Feinswag. I can't make any of those claims, but I have fun on the show every week. Thanks for watching. Good night. And go there. Goodbye.
Hello.
At carnival time by Baton Rouge Bay, that's the site of my story. At Spanish Town Mardi Gras, things can get blurry. See the mowers marching, prizes fill the sky. This Spanish Town Mardi Gras, may it never die. Poetry was everywhere, sweet music filled the air, And just then she glanced my way next to Baton Rouge Bay.